Welcome to Fempreneur True Confessions podcast.
Hi, everyone. I am Laura, and I am the owner of ODAA Virtual Assistant Agency. We are a small boutique style support agency that helps with the staffing that you need in your business, the strategy you may need, learning how to delegate and what you want to do in your business and not want to do in handoff, and then really just assist you in the back end. And we love the strategy and being here to support women in business. We get you cheerleaders behind the scene.
Awesome. And I'm Angelique with Lady Powerhouse Solutions, which is a heart centered um, uh, uh, company that offers project and event management for women entrepreneurs on fire, lighten up the world with their passion and drive and achieving their missions. And we help them do that in the most authentic way possible.
Lovely. And together, we are Fempreneur True Confessions podcast. There we go. We're already
Okay.
starting.
Yeah.
And our mission is to empower women in business and life to live authentically and to support each other
Yeah.
each and every day instead of competing with each other, which we don't like and never did. This is more to model the true authenticity through our business, our personal lives, how we live our day to day lives, just in general, with that empowerment feel for other women and that vulnerability that we bring to the table as women.
Awesome. And what we try to do is normalize this struggle of fempreneurship, right? Share the lessons we've learned with the goal of lifting other women up and not tearing them down, to normalize what it looks like when women succeed at supporting each other, building each other up, and using their gifts and passions to fulfill their life's calling. So our goal here is to build, maintain, and grow a sisterhood that believes in an abundance mindset, sharing our struggles and helping each other rise to our highest potential. Laura, please invite our guest or introduce our guest today.
Absolutely. So, this is Rachel Jenks, and she is the brand boss. She is a boss, and I love it. With more than 23 years in marketing and communications, Rachel's passion is empowering business owners to own your difference and rock your brand like a boss. Trust comes before transactions. When you create an authentic experience, you build an unstoppable brand. Is her motto, or is her what she says? This is who she is in her quote. And her off of the beaten path career journey has spanned multiple roles in various countries, 4 cities, and 3 states, including, or is it now more cities and 3 states, including professional ballet, event production, business strategy, national, international public relations, design, communications, and marketing. She's had the opportunity to work with organizations of all sizes and industries to amplify the power of their brands through brand strategy, consulting, brand development, and design, UI/UX, multimedia, advertising, marketing, live event production, e-learning, 3D innovation, animation, video photography, and art direction. Rachel is also the host of the Brand Boss podcast show and YouTube channel, an author and an in-demand public speaker. When not in the studio, Rachel can be found hiking the Colorado mountains, playing in her kitchen, or being supervised by her studio manager, Podcat and Lady Podcat. How are you?
Welcome, 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 Rachel.
Thank you so much. Thank you both for having me today. I'm excited to be here.
And you were saying earlier that a podcast might show up, make an appearance, because he likes Laura and he recognizes her voice
Yes.
and comes around. So, and
He
I think
absolutely
it's funny, the Zoom, when we started Zooming back when the pandemic started, it was this thing that as soon as you get on the Zoom, the cat came. right? And not just the cat, but the cat's butt and in the camera, or the incessant meowing. I have a client or a former client that every single time she starts to do a presentation, the cat starts meowing, meow, meow, and you can hear it in the background. And it's like this running joke. It's hilarious. None of her presentations, I don't think, have are catless. I'm just saying. And I also want to say hi to Linda Thompson. Linda's joining us from YouTube. Thanks for watching live, Linda. Anybody that's out there watching us live on Facebook or YouTube, drop us a comment and say hello. We'd love to know that you're here and that you're watching. So let me see. I can tell there's a few people watching, and we want to know who you are. So
Absolutely.
awesome. So Rachel, one of the topics that you talk about and that you write about, right, is owning your difference. And so what's the story for how you came to that understanding and that expertise? Because I'm guessing there was a journey.
Absolutely, there was. It's pretty much the story of my life, but I'll keep it brief. So, to start off with, the morning of my 38th birthday, I awoke to the almost audible voice of shame screaming in my head. Another year older, and what do you have to show for it? What do you even have to show for your life? And, I'm going to get emotional.
Wow.
And that's a pretty crummy way to start a birthday.
Yeah.
And at that point, it was obviously my 38th birthday. My business was 2 years old and growing. Here comes Podcat. And ladies from my community would ask me all the time, hey, I just want to take you to lunch. Can we go to coffee? I want to hear your story. You're so inspiring. And what I didn't realize, they would ask me that and I'd say, me? What's so inspiring about me? And the very thing that made me inspiring to them made me shameful to myself. And so that afternoon, I had a conversation I will never forget with my business mentor. Shout out to Dan Morey. And we were just having one of our regular, like, hey, how's it going? And he walked in and I looked at him and I said, Dan, do you ever question the impact your life is really making? And he stopped and he said, hold on. You and I both know that whatever you are measuring yourself against right now probably has nothing to do with what actually matters to you. And I think you need to go home and have that conversation and do some kind of soul searching about that. And so I did. And he actually played a very, very powerful video for me that kind of put things into perspective. And I went home, and for me, I had a conversation with God about it. And I did a lot of journaling. And I went back through my life because my entire life I have been different. I have never fit in any social circle. I probably never will. Not completely. I am 5 foot tall when the sun is shining. Or as a 6th grader had the audacity to ask me recently when I said that, how tall are you when the sun isn't shining? Or 11 3/4, right? Don't give me my 5 feet. But so I've always been the smallest. I have never looked my age. I'm 42. I know I don't look it. I'm not afraid to say it. Thanks, Mom, for good genes. I was the ballerina who walked funny. I was the nerd who actually loved learning and loved school. I still love learning. I would rather be exploring outside than at the mall. Like, there has been something different about me my entire life. And growing up, there was a lot of pain and rejection associated with that. And as kids, like, everybody wants to be like everybody else, right? We just want to blend in.
Yeah.
That was never going to be my story, no matter how hard I tried. And so then, fast forward to becoming a young adult. Like, my friends went to college and I got to live one of my childhood dreams as a professional ballet dancer in a company, which was incredible and amazing. And yet still when I would go home for Christmas, like there's I was different, right? Because they were all
Mhm.
having the college experience. I never had the college experience, right? And then, fast forward to going on later in life, they all got married and started having families, and that hasn't happened for me yet, and
Mhm.
so there were just all of these things that were always different about me. And then I launched my business. And that brings us to the morning of my 38th birthday. So when I launched my business, I didn't know any other single women in my circle who were building businesses. And so,
Wow.
yeah, so my greatest dream is to be a mom. It still is.
Mhm.
And at 38, I had all these women entrepreneurs from my community saying they wanted to hear my story and that I was so inspiring. And they were building businesses, but they had, a husband's income or whatever. They were moms or whatever the case may be. And so for
Mhm.
me, oh, I'm going to get emotional. I
It's okay. You're
looked in the
safe.
mirror. We talked
It
about
is
being
okay.
vulnerable, right? um,
Yes.
I looked in the mirror every morning and saw the girl who didn't make the cut for the role she had written for herself in her own story.
Mm.
And meanwhile, these women in my community saw me and said, "Oh my goodness, you're amazing." And I couldn't see what they saw in me.
Mhm.
Mm.
And so when I went home that day of my 38th birthday after that conversation, the video that my mentor played for me is actually called God's Masterpiece. And powerful, powerful video if you ever look it up on YouTube.
Okay.
And
She's typing it into the notes. I was just going to do that too.
and and I went home and I sat with my journal and I went back through. God took me back through my life and all of these seasons where I was different and the pain and the rejection associated with that. And then seeing how it also offered me opportunities that
Mhm.
not everybody had, right? And so starting to
Yeah.
see some of the good in it and starting, I'm a firm believer that every season, sorry, you're catching me on an emotional day. Every season in life we walk through, no matter how hard, there is something in it for us to glean that we
Mhm.
can take with us on our journey and that we can share with others on their journey. And we don't always see it at the time, and very often we don't. But looking back, as many painful seasons as there have been, I have gleaned so many gold nuggets. And so this was part of that process.
Mhm.
And so then he started to show me where I stepped into entrepreneurship. And again, there were so many different things about that for me. I lived an entire season of my life where I was on the road more than I was home. Actually, I lived multiple seasons of my life where I was on the road more than I was home. And the phone
Mhm.
could ring any minute. Your flight leaves in an hour. And so, be
Mm.
hanging out with my friends and all of a sudden, like, hey, I got to get to the airport, so you're different there too. And so,
Mhm.
just all of these things. But when I stepped into entrepreneurship, and particularly when I stepped into full-time entrepreneurship and launched my own business in 2016, and even before when I launched my business before that, in 2005 for a little blip on the radar, um,
Been
entrepreneurship
there.
was associated,
Right.
entrepreneurship was associated with being different, yes, but different now meant camaraderie, meant adventure, it meant excitement, it meant opportunities, right? And so I began to see different in a whole new light. And really, this journey that I'm talking about took about 9 months, right? It didn't happen in one
Right.
afternoon.
Right.
Yeah.
And seeing that, I would get up to speak and people would say, "What's your superpower?" And I'd be like, "I don't know." Like it could be a lot of different things, right?
Yeah.
But I saw through this journey that my superpower is actually being different, and it was
Yes.
right in front of me the whole time.
Wow.
And what had been such a source of pain and rejection and all of that was actually a gift, because here's the thing, I was never born to stand out, or I was never born to fit in. I was born to stand
Right.
out.
Exactly.
And so were you. Linda said it beautifully. We are each made to be unique. We are made differently
Yes.
on purpose for a
Yes.
purpose. And so
Yeah.
here was this gift that I had been given that I didn't even see because all I associated with that word different was pain and rejection and less than and fill in the blank. But here, what was being given to me is hey, I didn't make you to be like everybody else. I
Yeah.
Yes.
made you to be you. I made you to stand out because, Laura's heard me say this before. There is something so prevalent in marketing, particularly, I'm going to call this out, among fempreneurs right now, that I like to call chameleon crisis, which
Mm-hmm.
is look like everybody else, blend in like everybody else, do everything everybody else is doing. And you can see it, just scroll Instagram, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it is hard to tell very few fempreneurs accounts apart from each other because they all look the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's so much this pressure and we want to look like everybody else. Guess what? That might have been fun on the playground. It's terrible for your business. It is
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
the worst thing you can do, right? If you are a chameleon, that's why I call it chameleon crisis. Chameleons are amazing creatures. They can
Mm-hmm.
make themselves look like any surrounding they're in, even a Coca Cola can.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me how they learned that one. That's definitely not in nature, right?
Right.
Right.
So that's great if you don't want to get eaten by a hawk.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to get noticed by customers, that's a terrible
Mm-hmm.
strategy. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 90 to 95% of businesses, or maybe even 99% of businesses, particularly fempreneurs, doing this exact same thing
Mm-hmm.
because it is scary to be different. And I
Yeah.
get it, and I know it, and I've lived it. But this journey that I've walked through, I've specifically used the phrase own your difference because my whole life was like, oh, well, I'm just different.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to say you're different, it's another thing to embrace your difference, it's another thing entirely to own it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Celebrate it.
am the only me on earth. My business is the only business of its kind on earth, no matter who else is doing the same thing in their field. And you know what?
Yes.
There is plenty to go around. There is also only
Exactly.
one me. And the people that I am here to serve and to impact need me. And there
Mm-hmm.
is only one me that can give that to them. And if I am showing up trying to be like everybody else, then I am robbing the people that I'm here to serve of what only I can give them in the way that I can give them to them. And
Yes.
Yes.
so that for me was the moment of, okay, and I say moment, right? But like I said, it was a journey
Mm-hmm.
of, wait a minute, being different is a gift. Oh, it's actually my
Yes.
superpower. Because what I'm
Yes.
here to do is help you see your difference and own it too. And so when I began to see that and not only accept it or embrace it, but own it, that
Mm-hmm.
changed everything for me.
Yeah. I love that, not just accepting it, but owning it. And you come from one of the most competitive areas. Like ballet is no joke. So to get to a point where you're like, I'm not competing, I am who I am, I won't look and blend in like anybody else, like that's a journey. Like that's a true whoa. Because yeah.
Oh. Well, and I'm glad that you brought up ballet too, because obviously that is a very deep part of my journey. And that was a career that I lost due to injury. And
Hmm.
when that happened, it was devastating for me. At the same time, I would have been miserable. And I
Hmm.
couldn't see it then, you know?
Yeah.
Like we were talking about before we got on recording today. Like
Yes.
sometimes
Yes.
things are removed from our lives so that better can come. And we don't see it at the time and it's hard and we kick and we scream, or in my case,
And it's
go into
painful.
this downhill spiral. And then looking back, we see that it was a gift. And so when you think about ballet, what most ballerinas aspire to and most companies have is the corps de ballet, which
Mm-hmm.
literally means body of ballet. It's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to look like one body across the stage. Everybody's supposed to look the same. Nobody's supposed to stand out. You know that
Mhm.
meme with the girl hanging upside down on the ballet bar? Like, that's me. I have a stage presence twice the size of the stage, definitely twice my stage, or my size. I am never going to be the same size or same shape as everybody else on there. Like
Yes.
I would never have fit into being a cookie cutter. And huge respect for those who are. Don't hear what I'm not saying. Huge respect for those who are. You are an athlete of the highest kind, and I honor you. And I definitely aspire to be you. At the same time, for me, I would have been miserable. That would have been living a life less than who I am. And I would have spent my entire life trying to fit into a mold that I was never made for.
Mhm.
So that's was a huge part of that 9-month journey for me as well, because I had grieved that and I had felt like a failure my entire life because of that. And it was
Yeah.
during that time period where I was able to revisit that season of my life and see that not as a failure, but as a gift. I love that you
Yeah.
brought that up, Laura.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want to get into the authenticity and owning your brand, but I also want to go back and ask you about why you started your own business and what that was like in 2016 when you
Okay, I
went
was going to say
full
which one.
full on. Was it
Yeah,
scary? Was it fun? Was it terrible? Was it all the things?
it was terrifying. And it was not on my radar. And it was not what I wanted to do at all.
Mhm.
So, the story of how I started my business in 2016 was that um, I first had the dream to have my own business in this particular field in 2010. And at that time, I was engaged, and I loved that this was an outlet for my creativity, for business, that I could bring in income for my family and be home raising my family because, as you know, that's my greatest dream, right? So this was the script that I wrote, is that,
Mhm.
when I'm a stay-at-home mom, then I'm going to launch my business.
When we make plans, God laughs, right?
True story. So, and that relationship is very much a gift that it did not go that direction. Um, and so, fast forward to 2016, I started feeling that nudge. God started speaking to me
Mhm.
about stepping out and launching my business. And I argued and I said, nope,
Ooh.
mm-mm, you didn't
Mm.
read the script. Like, I'm 36 years old. There is nobody on the horizon. That's not how we're going to do this. And so, to be honest, I didn't really take him seriously.
Mhm.
I reopened my freelance business. No, I made one post on Facebook about it. That's it. I did not reopen anything.
I love it.
Like, that was it, right?
But
Okay,
I
I'm
have
reopening it.
advertised. I posted on social media.
That's
Mhm.
it. I think it was a picture of an open door. I posted one picture of an open door and I was like, hey, we're open for business. That's it. I'm a
That's
marketer. I
it.
know how to do better than that, right? Like, that tells you I did not take it very seriously.
Yeah.
So sometimes we have to be pushed to find that we can fly.
Mhm.
And I was the marketing director of a college at the time. And in May of that year, right after graduation, which is the single most intense, stressful time of year for any college marketing director, the board decided to make budget cuts and eliminate the entire marketing department.
So
And
much for
in,
telling God no.
right? So in one afternoon, I had no job, no
Mhm.
team of interns, no computer, and I knew it was time to launch. And I was scared out of my mind. I definitely was not like, oh, yay, let's do this now. I was like,
Mhm.
this makes no sense, God. Like, no, I can't. You want me to do what? Like, in case you haven't noticed, I'm the only income earner in this household. Like, Podcat was a kitten and he was cute, but not like viral cute. Like, we had no affiliate deals going on. And I reminded God of this. And like, I didn't even have a computer, but I knew it was time. And so, kicking and screaming, terrified out of my mind, I said yes. And my friend KJ built me the computer that I am talking to you, lovely ladies, on. And I launched.
Wow.
And I didn't have savings saved up. I didn't have backup clients. I didn't have anything except its time. And that was in 2016. And the crazy stories, oh my gosh, that I can tell you of like, do you want to hear one?
Oh yeah.
Sure.
All
Yeah.
right. So this was fast forward to, oh, let's be honest. When I said I launched, I spent a lot of time watching Creative Live, learning how to launch, right? Because that's what we do. And
Yeah.
we're like, hey,
That's what we
I'm going to
do.
do this. Oh, yeah, I need to watch this thing about pricing strategy. And I need to do this and I need to do about this. Go launch your business.
Yes.
Rachel in 2016, right? Like, that's just real. That's so
Right.
real. And I need to have the cute this and I need to do this and I need it.
Mhm.
No, sister, launch. Then you can figure out that stuff. Anyway, learned that the hard way. But here's a crazy.
Wait a minute. Because,
Yeah.
you know, we all did that.
I did
We've
it.
all done that. And if you haven't, and you're listening to this podcast, I want to meet you. Okay. Because I have not met anyone who hasn't gone through this.
Yeah.
This push pull, this
You know why?
I'm not ready. Yes, I am. Or
Yeah, because we're terrified.
yes.
We're terrified. So just a little side note, and then I'll go back to my story. But little side note. So one of the creative lives that I watched, again, sometimes God has to call you out on stuff. So I was launching my website for like weeks. And then I
Lauren,
watched.
you don't feel any conviction at all right now, do you?
Right. It took me a
None.
year to launch my freaking website.
And then, right? Well, listen to this. Maybe this will help you. So I'm watching Creative Live. And I apologize. I don't remember who it was. It was a photographer. But she was talking about pricing.
Uh-huh.
Then she turned the conversation and she started talking about why. Not the Simon Sinek why, though I love that. She said, if you are feeling stuck or hung up on something, then I want you to ask yourself why. And then I want you to ask yourself why again. And I want you to ask yourself why again, and why again, and why again. She said, whatever it is. And she was like, it doesn't just have to be something that you're hung up on. But I want you to ask yourself why 10 times. Because usually about the 9th why you get to the real answer. So I was like, yeah, all right,
True story.
whatever. I'm like, whatever, sure.
So you toddler yourself literally. There's a point to a toddler who whys you to death, you know, as an adult. And there's a point to that. Yeah.
There is. So I side note, I used to do that to my clients. I don't anymore. People don't appreciate it. But you can invite them to do it on their own. So speaking of toddler whying you to death. And I would warn them ahead of time that I might be like a toddler. And I still ask very in-depth questions, but I don't quite take the 3-year-old approach. So anyway, so I have my notes. I'm like, all right, I haven't launched my website. Why? Because I hate websites. Like, can we just be transparent? When I did go back to school and get my degree online, and that was the part of school that made me want to throw my computer across the room. Like, it just was not. Shout out to all the web designers. I love you. Let's collaborate. And so, yeah, like I don't want to build them. So anyway, so I was like, okay, because I hate websites, you know. And then the next one was like,
Why do you hate
because
websites?
blah 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 blah. By the 9th one, it was because if I launch my website, then we're really doing this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I was
It's
like,
real.
oh snap,
Uh-huh.
that's the real answer. Can I tell you? I finished and launched my website that week.
Yeah.
So for every fempreneur watching this who feels like, oh my goodness, I'm going to do this and I'm going to learn this and I need to do this and I need to do this and I need to do this, I want to invite you to toddler ask yourself why. and you might get to the real answer. And
Yeah.
I'm going to caveat that by saying also, you're not alone.
No,
And it is terrifying. Most
absolutely
of
not.
that first year in business for me was me overcoming my own fear.
Hmm.
So I
True
hear
story.
you.
Same here.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. Mine,
Yeah.
So
making all the mistakes, being fearful, and then once you did, it's that panic moment. Like, do I stop? Do I keep going? And then, the push through of, nope, this is a learning lesson. One door, the reality of one door closes, another one opens.
Yeah.
I had something happen last week where I went to Angelique and she just immediately was like, whoosh, and she stepped in and it was exactly what I needed to hear. And instead of my confidence just crushing and caving in on me, it was step into this and get there. Like, it was make a decision, and it was very enlightening, and there were some things I needed to just completely just know about what I wanted to do, what I don't want to do. I got super clear super fast because it was one of those moments where, yeah, I clearly was, God was speaking. He had something to say, and made it very loud and clear, like it was whoa loud. So I immediately was like, I'm going to Angelique. Like, she just kind of got poured on, unfortunately, but it was, and she knew immediately just exactly what to say. And the what she said was just like, because if had I sat in that, my
Hmm.
confidence would be nothing this week, and I'd be in some other state of mind about
Yeah.
everything else I'm doing.
Yeah. And the only reason I knew what to
yeah.
say is because I had been there. That was, and it, because I'm not some wise, Zen. Oh, that's no, because I've been there.
Mhm.
Um, and I've felt very alone and had to be my own cheerleader. And I was very fortunate to have, you okay?
You swallow
I'm
wrong?
so sorry. I got a tickle in my
It's
throat.
okay. So I was very fortunate to have a really positive mom. And so my inner voice is fairly positive. And even when my inner voice is like, when you said you woke up that morning and you felt all this shame, like you should be further in your life than you, yes, I've had moments like that. Of course, everybody does. And if you say you don't, you're lying. So, but to, and then another person once told me, I said, sometimes I've got that itty bitty shitty committee talking in my head. And I just tell them, you need to go sit down and shut up.
Mhm.
And she gave me some really good advice. And this girl's half my age. She said, maybe don't tell them to sit down and shut up. Maybe listen to them, recognize them, say thank you. I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate your input. Now I'm going to go do what I'm going to do. And because really, that itty bitty shitty committee is just your, what do they call it? The lizard brain,
That alien
right?
brain or the lizard
Monkey
brain.
brain, whatever, dinosaur brain, whatever, trying to protect you.
Mhm.
And that's
Mm,
all it is. It's just,
mm.
you know, so that's the only reason I knew what to say. I was like, oh yeah, been there, done that, girlfriend, blah, 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 blah.
But a
No,
So
that's
prime
like,
example as to why we do this is that we feel so alone. And when we first
yeah,
started this,
no,
we
we're
saw the
not.
statistics that 50% of women feel unsupported. Where do we turn? Where do we go? And we've built an amazing power partnership and our own little tribe. And when one is faltering, we can step in and be like, I got you.
Exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
neat.
Yeah, we need our posse, right? We need our
we
inner
do.
circle.
Mhm.
We so do. And I
Absolutely.
don't care, like, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I'm getting
Yeah.
over a cold. I didn't think it was going to quite come out like that today. Um, we so do. And I don't care if you've been in business for 20 years. We need each other.
Mhm.
And if you have been in business for 20 years, there is probably somebody earlier in her journey who needs you.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we all have things that we can learn from each other. Like you said, that woman who is half your age, had words of wisdom for you. I've definitely
Yes.
experienced that before myself. Half my age, twice my age, everything in between. And,
Yeah.
I've heard exactly what I needed to hear from my 4-year-old niece. So we need each other. And I think
Hmm.
that's the beauty of being on this journey. And I love that we call it the entrepreneur journey. I
Mhm.
very much call it that because you don't have to journey alone unless you choose to. Right? And
Hmm.
we get to be on this journey together and we get to encourage each other and cheer one another on and champion each other because it is hard for every single woman out there. It is hard and there are ebbs and flows and there are amazing highs and crazy lows where you feel like, oh my gosh, like what am I even doing? And there
Yeah.
are wins and challenges and everything, like no matter how long you've been in business. I've heard some of the most successful female entrepreneurs in the world talk about that, and you
Hmm.
know conversations that you go into that you're like, thank you, I hope you have a nice life and don't ever speak to
Yes.
any other woman like that again. I mean, like, all of these
Go have the
things.
day you deserve.
It runs the gamut. It runs the gamut,
Mhm.
Yes.
and we've all experienced it. And that's why we need each other. And I love, 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 love what you ladies are doing with this podcast because I think that, again, as women, so many times there's this pressure of like, okay, well, we've got to take care of everybody else. And so we've got to have it together. And we've got to put our best foot forward and we've got to do this and we've got to do that, but it's in the vulnerability of sharing our stories
Mhm.
that we get the strength that we need from each other. That's
Yeah.
really where we support and champion each other, and each of us can go higher and can go farther. It's that whole African proverb: if you want to run fast, go alone. If you want to run far, to go together.
Mhm.
And that's how we run together, is by being vulnerable, is by letting each other into our own journeys and sharing our own stories like you are doing with this podcast. So thank you for
Yeah.
that.
Thank
Awesome. Thank you.
you.
So, before we run out of time, I definitely want to talk about how you came to, understanding what your personal brand really was, and how, getting there authentically, and then how, you turned that around and turned it into a business.
Yeah. So I actually already had a business. And in 2019, I just one morning, I heard the term brand boss. And I didn't know what that meant. I thought I was going to go serve the brand bosses. Okay, I'm going to go serve the brand bosses. Like, I didn't know what that was. And then God told me to launch a podcast, and I was like, "Excuse me, do what? I'll have a mic. Like, you do know this, right? Like, what?" And so I started speaking into the voice memo app of my phone, standing in my closet to mitigate the noise because that was all I had.
Yeah.
And I called it the Brand Boss Show because I get so passionate about seeing business owners feel like they can't be who they are.
Mhm.
Like they have to keep up with every trend out there.
Hmm.
Like, they have to throw money at everything, whether or not it's right for their business. And one of the things I do not like in marketing is a prevailing attitude. It's not across the board, but I have seen it a lot on both sides of the table,
Mhm.
where the agency comes in and we know what we're doing and the business owner is stupid. It's not true. It's your
No.
business. Nobody knows
Hmm.
your business better than you do. And so I decided I was going to start the Brand Boss Show to educate business owners to be the boss of your own brand and
Yeah.
talk about what even is branding, what makes it work, not work,
Mhm.
what do you need to be aware of, what makes marketing work, etc. So that was the whole premise of the show, empowering you to rock your brand like a boss, right? That's where the Brand Boss Show came from. And so
Mhm.
I launched this podcast and it took off. And then people started calling me the brand boss. And at first, I was super not comfortable with that. I was like, nope, don't make it about me. It's not about me. It's about you. It's about empowering you to rock your brand like a boss.
Mhm.
And then in January of 2020, two things happened. One was I had a very bold conversation. It was one of the most bold conversations I have ever had in my life. And my best friend Titi and I were talking about it afterwards. She was like, "I have a whole new word. It's Rachel Brave. Like, I'm gonna get my Rachel Brave on today, you know?"
I
And
love it.
so it was awesome. And so the next day, it happened to be on a Sunday, I had that conversation. And then on Monday, I kept thinking about this like Rachel Brave. And I realized that how I had been showing up in the world was not who I really am. I had
Mhm.
been playing
Mm,
small, I had been
Mhm.
playing safe, I'd been playing shy, but I am brave. I am bold. I am confident. I am passionate. I am like all these things. And so I realized, wait a minute, I haven't been showing up in the world as my true identity, even in
Mhm.
all these things, even after having gone on this journey. So that was the first thing. The second thing that happened was I realized that I didn't need the title of brand boss, right? But in order for me to have the impact that I'm here to have and help business owners step into being the brand boss, they had to see me do it first.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so I had to walk through overcoming imposter syndrome. I don't like the way I look in this picture. I don't need my face on the internet. I don't need my voice on the internet. All that kind of stuff. I hear you. I was you.
Yeah.
However, sometimes it has to be all about you in order to not be
Bless
all about you. God bless you.
you.
And that was something, honestly, that God spoke to me one day. He was like,
Mhm.
"Hey, I know you think that's humility. You know what I call that? False humility."
Ooh.
Us. Oh, you got called out,
The
girl.
whiplash
I
on
got
that one, maybe.
called out because I was like,
Yes.
"I don't need it to be me. I don't need it to be all about me. I don't need to be all about there." He's like, "You may not, but they do. And so you're actually playing it safe because it's less
Hmm.
scary and it's
Hmm.
easier for you to stay hidden
Mhm.
than for you to put yourself out there. So the people
Yeah.
that I put you here to impact can find you and
Yeah.
can hear you and can hear your story." And I was like, "Oh, dang." Right? That whole journey that I
Yeah.
walked of being the brand boss, of owning my difference, of stepping into my identity as the brand boss. And so,
Yeah.
one of the things that I realized this year, because I've had a done for you marketing agency this whole time. And then in the spring of this year, I kept having more and more conversations with business owners. And I went, "Oh, you need this journey that I took because I can do it for you and take it off your plate. But if you haven't done this internal journey, you're not
Yeah.
going to show up the same way. You're
Yeah.
not going to be the boss of your brand in your
Mhm.
conversations, in your interactions with people, in
Yes.
your strategy, much less your marketing, right?" And so
Mhm.
that's where my coaching business launched from this summer. So to that, there was a little piece of that that launched an arm of my business. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was my story of stepping into being the brand boss.
I love
Awesome.
that because that is so right. And I've always been known to say, like, I am not everybody's cup of tea. But I say that, and everyone goes, "Well, you're enough," and they do that with it. And I said, I don't say that to down myself. I say that to remind
Right.
myself that you need to not get quiet and mousy because you don't want to hurt or offend. I'm a very direct, upfront kind of New Yorker that has the
Yeah.
ability to say something, but that doesn't always come off in the best of ways. So I'm always trying to be like, how do I put this? And then
Yeah.
the second I just be like, never mind, just say it. Just
Yeah.
say it. And then adjust if you need to for the audience or whatever. But in the
Right. There
moment,
is
you
emotional
just
intelligence. I will caveat that. There is emotional intelligence that
right.
matters. However, there's a difference between emotional intelligence and changing who you are.
Yes. Yes. Amen. For sure. Wow. So, well, thank you for sharing your story and being as vulnerable as you have. And I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to talk about your offer,
Sure.
freebie, whatever, whatever you call it these days. And so you have an ebook called The Top Five Branding
Yes.
Blunders and Busters. And so we're providing it coupon code that will get them that book for free. Is that correct?
That's correct. And the
Wow.
coupon code is podcast.
Awesome. Okay. So we'll put a link to that book in the show notes. But I'm sure we can go to your website.
Yeah, you can.
Which
so you
is-
can go to brandbossstudio.com.
Okay.
And you can learn more about what I do. And then if you click on resources, that's the page that will take you to the ebook, to strategy sessions, to other things that I offer as well.
Okay. So if you don't want to read the show notes, that's how you get the free book, ebook. And then now is when we will talk about next week's guest, which both Laura and I know personally and work with. And so we thought it'd be really cool. Again, you know, we try to create this community of acceptance and, you know, abundance and everything. So we like our guests to introduce the next guest, because, you know, it just shows there's not a competition. There's enough for everyone. So Rachel, do the honor.
All right, bear with me. I'm going to do my best reading this off of the chat.
Yes.
Here we go. Oh, wait, I forgot I have it over here. Hold, please. There we go.
Hold, please.
Next week's guest is Jackie Barker. Nothing gives this woman greater satisfaction than collaborating with her clients to grow their small businesses through branding, marketing, and web design. Cheers to you, Jackie. As a child growing up in rural Wisconsin, Jackie's favorite thing to do was to kick her shoes off and run through the grass, dreaming playful dreams. I love that. Still to this day, living in Carolina Beach, North Carolina, she carries the awe and wonder of childhood into her business, along with a bit of playfulness. Hence, life is better barefoot. Because who wouldn't love to imagine themselves running barefoot in the grass or feeling the sand under their feet? Don't miss this episode. It's definitely going to be a fun one.
Yes, it is. Thank you. That was awesome, Rachel. So it's been
my pleasure.
A wonderful show. We're so glad you joined us. Please, those who are listening, please be sure to follow us on LinkedIn. We're trying to get enough followers there to go live on LinkedIn, so we need more followers. So go out to our LinkedIn. We'll drop the link in the show notes. And Linda's saying, Jackie, oh, thank you for saying that, Linda. Linda said, yes, she will be helping me with getting a website up and running. And Jackie's, and isn't it ironic that you got to introduce a web designer when you're like, heck no.
More power to you, Jackie.
Yes. I love him. He works in wonderful and mysterious ways. So, thank you again, Rachel, and go out and like us and get us enough followers on LinkedIn so we can go live. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.